So when you think like this, reverse engineering, we as humans, you'll come up that you don't have to think of yourself as a freelancer who is trying to build a personal brand. You just have to think of you as a human who is trying to connect another human. Work, service, product comes later.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 30th episode of our podcast Pepper Spotlight. And in this episode, we are speaking to someone who probably doesn't need an introduction if you've been on the internet in the past few years. Digital Pratik is popularly known because of his Instagram, his podcast, a lot of work or talks that he does. And obviously, if you must have seen him sharing a lot of content or talking about Gary Vee, then you definitely know who he is. In this conversation today, we are going to talk to him about his journey of how, from a college dropout, he is doing today what he's doing. And at the same time, also understanding from him some content tips that could be useful for brand managers or social media managers. And at the same time, some personal branding tips for freelancers as well. This entire conversation was pre-recorded over Zoom call. So please feel free to put down any comments on YouTube if you have any more questions. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, just feel free to DM us on Instagram. If you like this episode, please feel free to share this across your social media channels. And we're also going to mention in the description of this episode a discounted offer for PepperType. If you have not used PepperType before, here is a nice discount offer for each one of you. Or you could even just start with a free trial. Even before signing up, you can just use it as a free trial and you can write at 10x or 100x speed. If you have been putting out 5 tweets in a day, by using PepperType, you could even put out 500 tweets in a day. Just go ahead, check out the link in the description of this episode and you will know that I am not saying any bullshit. It's real. It's really possible. A lot of organizations and individuals are already using PepperType to create copies, ad copies, blogs, newsletters, press releases, and I don't know how many other content types for their organization or for their individual use. Let's listen to this conversation with Digital Pratik, and if you like this, please share this across with your friends or on your social channels. But here is my conversation with Pratik. Thank you so much, Pratik, for being on Pepper Spotlight today. I'm so thrilled to have you on the show and talk about a lot of things. And just want to give a disclaimer to everyone who is watching this or listening to this. All these questions that I'm going to ask to Pratik today are going to be out of my curiosity, and I don't want it to be like one particular theme because he does so many things. The conversation might feel for you all that अरे ये यहाँ से कहाँ conversation चले गया, but he does so many things, and I just want to touch upon all the points. So thank you so much, Pratik, for agreeing to do this, and this is going to be a very thrill conversation for me today.
Same here, Pawan. I'm glad to be over here and be a part of this conversation. And for sure, I'm ready to bring up a couple of values with respect to a lot of things where I myself say it to the world that life is your macro niche. So keep on doing and testing new things in your life. Just don't stick to one thing. So yeah, bring it on. Let's do this.
Super. The very first thing that I want to ask you is, and a lot of people on the internet have different opinions about this, which is about being a college dropout. And I know you have been a college dropout, and sort of it probably has turned for the best for you. But if somebody comes to you and asks you that should they drop out of college to pursue what they want to do, what advice or suggestion do you give them about this? Or in general, what's your view about dropping out from college?
It's good and bad both, because see, it depends upon the individual's situation at that point in time when he or she is asking that question. Like, let's go back 11 years ago when I took a drop in 2010. Like, I was a good student. I scored 88% in science. I was an engineering student. I loved the subjects. I scored 93 in physics, 94 in maths. I was a brilliant student, I would say. So I really loved the subjects. I really loved engineering. But there was an incident, like my dad got a paralytic stroke. And in engineering, if you don't appear for the examinations of odd semester, you cannot sit for the next odd semester. So similarly, for me, it was like sixth semester, which I couldn't appear for the examinations. And that's the reason why I couldn't, like, I had to take that drop because my dad was hospitalized. It is for the first ever time I'm going to a hospital and I'm seeing my dad, I have never been to an hospital in my entire 21 years at that point in time. And then for the first ever time, I'm entering the hospital, I'm seeing my dad, and that to a paralytic stroke, where in my entire family, nobody has been into medical history. So everything happens all of a sudden, and mentally you get disturbed, and I was not this strong, which I am right now at that point in time. I was just a normal kid going to college. So yeah, I took a drop. I couldn't appear for the examinations, and that's where I still went for the seventh semester. But because I didn't appear for sixth, I was not able to do that eighth. So now these kind of scenarios might come in individual's life. At that point in time, if you're taking a drop, it's perfectly all right. Voila, awesome. But then the question is, why did I still take a drop after this incident? I could have once again appeared, clear the examinations, and never being a college dropout. Still, I'm three times dropout. Why? Because maybe in the second drop, what started happening was one of my friends gave me this Rich Dad Poor Dad book at that point in time. That also shifted something over here that, okay, fine, financial IQ is totally different than what we are studying over here. If I'm studying engineering just for the sake of making money at a good job, this is already giving me education. Why should I do this? Once again, those kind of things. And meanwhile, I had to make money. So I started doing call center jobs, which I had no clue about. I borrowed formals from my friends and all those things. So now I'm also making money. I'm having the shift of financial IQ. My dad is hospitalized. A lot of things happened. And because of which, finally, for the third ever time, I decided, okay, fine, I'm firm. No matter what happens now, I'll go against anything and everything, but I look forward to 10 years now. I won't judge myself on the basis of 2012 or 13 or 14 when my colleagues or my friends would be earning 25 or 35,000 rupees as an engineering job, guys.
Yeah.
So it depends upon the practical situation of an individual's life. And then another scenario is somebody who might take a drop might be an NRI student who has a bank balance of his dad, who doesn't bother. Maybe his dad has just sent that student or kid to college just to experience few things. His dad is least worried about the college education.
Yeah.
So many, I'm just spoken of 3 or 4 maybe incidences which are practical scenarios in India. And see, whatever I say is with respect to Indian culture. I never say anything outside.
Yeah.
Somebody when it comes to me and says, Gary Vaynerchuk says, take high risk in your 20s. I'm like, he says with US culture, he doesn't know Indian culture that much, which we are living. If your dad is paralyzed and in Indian culture, your dad is providing your college education fees, in the US, it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So there are so many differentiators which people don't see. And then when they hear somebody that college drop is necessary for a successful life. No. Who said that? There are so many engineers who are there and still are able to be successful,
Yeah.
So
and from there onwards, how did it shape up to what you are today in 2021? What were some major, let's say, milestones or some time frames that literally shifted your perception about the world, about life in general? What were those some key milestones or those moments in this 10-12 years?
So it was majorly from 2010 when I started doing this call center job. The college drops were happening, shifting to call center jobs, and eventually raising myself to customer service head by 2014, which is where, while I was also doing side hustling with blogging and affiliate marketing at that point in time, I got my first ever digital marketing executive job in 2014 itself. Okay. And that was my first twist. Like, I completely shifted my work. It was like me calling, solving problems over the call, over the chats. And now all of a sudden on digital marketing, I'm doing something like SEO, off-page SEO for people, Quora articles. At that point in time, it was all about social bookmarking. A lot of people might not even resonate with that because they are right now on Instagram world. So that kind of journey started. I started building landing pages. Bridge marketing is something which a lot of people didn't know at that point in time. They were all selling. And I'm like pitching to all the companies where I was working all about lead magnets in 2014. trying to build landing pages on Optimized Press and collecting leads, which people are still not doing. People were writing Quora articles and all of a sudden sending their links. Hey, this is my page, buy my product. This is my page, buy my product. If you love this article, buy my product. So that's probably one of my twisting points would be that in 2014-15ish, where I was trying to pitch bridge marketing to the companies where I was working as a full-time employee. Later on, I raised myself to product manager by 2018 at DigiPerform. Meanwhile, I was also a senior digital marketing trainer at DSIM. So those days of 2016, 17, 18 has taught me a lot, because while I was training people who are not just students, in these kind of institutes, professionals might come, CEOs might come, managers might come. So now I'm in front of people who are elder to me, who are more experienced than me, who probably are MBA degree holders, and I, being a college dropout, I'm teaching them and they are finding it valuable. That shifted my mindset. Okay, fine. This is something crazy. Why the hell these guys are giving a damn about me? It's not because they are coming to an institute and paying thousands of rupees, but because they trust the trainer as well. Because I have understood that in a digital marketing course or an institute, the golden asset is your trainer. If the trainer is bad, nothing will matter, even if your curriculum is superb. So that's something which I realized very early, and I nurtured myself with respect to a little bit of communication. That's where I started watching a lot of videos, which I was eventually, like, I was watching Bob Proctor, Brian Tracy while I was in call center, but eventually I started watching all these guys who were into digital marketing segment as well. Previously, I was listening to Grant Cardone, Vishen Lakhiani. Now in 2016, early 2016, Gary Vaynerchuk came in my life in one of the YouTube videos. Since then, I'm listening to him, and eventually, so I heard this from somewhere that whatever you feed between these 6-inch gap, 6-inch gap will matter the most in the next 5-10 years in your life. So I started consuming a lot of audios. I used to rip the YouTube videos into audio format, put it on my phone, listened. So those are 2 or 3 maybe twisting points. And later on, 2018, I completely left my job. In 2019, because I had saved money. This is very important aspect which people forget. I did full-time job for 8 years, which I loved, which I really enjoyed. I was not in a rat race. I was really loving my work. So irrespective of whether I'm Digital Pratik now or I was Pratik C. Chudasama at that point in time, I really loved my work wherever I was and I am. So I was just saving money from freelancing, from full-time job. In 2019, I invested around 18 lakhs in just branding ads.
Wow, 18 lakhs.
Yeah. I was running Instagram ads because that point in time, it was not still stories. There was nothing like stories. It was just getting started like stories eventually in the probably after mid of 2019 or something. It was like feed videos. There was no IGTV as well. Under a minute, if you have a video which people were not posting, and I was posting with all the subtitles because Gary Vaynerchuk had started. I was learning all these things. I was tackling because till May 2019, I didn't have a team. My first employee happened in May 2019. So I was a one-man army, always researching here and there. So yeah, I used to create 2 to 3 videos on Instagram, all other social media platforms as well. But I heavily invested like 500, 1,000 rupees per day in branding ads.
Wow. I have to ask you this thing, and this might sound a little philosophical or something of that sort. For a lot of people, so many changes in professional paths, or let's say in general in personal life, is really difficult sometimes to tackle with, or just adapt to these different changes. How do you have that strength to manage so many changes in life and also excel at them? Is it something that you have a mantra for it, or you're just like, okay, happy-go-lucky types, let's
No,
try this
not
out?
at all happy-go-lucky types. I would say it's a mix of 2 or 3 ethics, principle, disciplines, philosophy, whatever you term it as. Number one, yeah, I have been. I watched this video from Shri Amitabh Bachchan ji long back ago on Facebook that मन का हो तो अच्छा ना हो तो और भी बढ़िया, क्योंकि वो फिर किसी और की इच्छा से हो रहा है, वो कभी हमारा बुरा नहीं चाहेगा. If something is happening according to your wish, it is good. If it is not, if it is even better, because then it is happening according to some divine force. So कहीं ना कहीं मेरे लाइफ में है that life is a struggle. As long as you accept it earlier, it would be better for you. It would be ups and downs. we are listening these kind of quotes from everyone, that life is all about ups and downs, ups and downs. Still we try to figure the answer for these philosophical questions. Why don't we just accept that as early as possible in our life, that nothing is going to be happening like crazy, there would be ups and downs. And this is where this is so of an important point. And I'm going to show you one thing, and you'll be blown away by this. The reason why I have this picture, which is life is your macro niche. So this point A is when you get birth, when you're born. And is something which is when you die. And during this entire journey of your life, you'll come across so many likings in your life. You might like dancing, you might like singing, you might like creating content, you might like being an influencer, you might like being a businessman, you might like somebody who can create a mouse like this. If you're a technical guy, you might be n number of things having liking. But during that entire life, you will figure out that all these likings are around one single thing. So my point is, never ever worry about figuring out what your passion is. You keep living your likings throughout A to B. You by default will live this passion. For me, it has been communication. I love communicating. When I self-audit my past, I don't worry about these philosophical questions. I just live my life practically. Even though I was a college dropout, I was the IEEE student branch president. So I was living that versus regretting that now my friends are ahead of me and they have passed out. I was the secretary of Computer Society of India student branch while I took a drop. I was living that versus regretting on those moments, So things like that. And then while I was in a call center job, I was making 12,000 rupees per month, while my engineering buddies who were passed out, they were making 25,000 rupees per month. I didn't regret. I was living this. So it's more about you investing your time with what you have, once again, boiling down to that gratitude feeling of what you have versus regretting on what you don't have. When something bad is happening in your life, there are good moments in your life which you probably have replaced with the negative thoughts. So why not do the vice versa and try to live the happy moments in your life? If something, let's suppose if I met with an accident, okay, if I met with an accident right now, if my leg gets fractured, I would be like, okay, fine, I cannot stand, I cannot do this kind of Zoom call, I have to lie down, probably 3 minutes disturb ho jayenge, ye wo. But while I'm lying down, why not me being positive that I can now watch entire Netflix seasons, or maybe Gary Vaynerchuk's all videos of Ask Gary V show, or maybe I can just use Pepper type software all the time and come up with maybe 10,000 headlines for Facebook ad copies in 3 months, so that after 3 months, I'll crack a client and I'll tell them, hey, I'll give you 10,000 word or 10,000 headlines for free if you become my client. It's a perspective in the moment. So honestly, it's a mix of couple of things, but overall it's living your life practically. It's living your life practically and trying to give your best in 100 different things and try to win on 33 versus people trying to figure out how I can play on 33 and win on 33.
I'm just having a new perspective about everything now.
What's your age, Pawan? I'm still trying to figure out. What's your age?
I'm 27.
27. Not bad. I mean, these questions are bound to happen. I too had these questions. And when I'm saying I too had these questions, by the way, for audience who are watching or consuming this content, I'm 32 right now, 32 and a half, So I know it's not a major gap. It's 5 years gap. But today in digital age, 5 years is like 10 years. I'm telling you. Especially if you're into 30s.
Correct.
All these philosophical answers or on the spot practicalities of my life didn't come to me when I was 28, 29. Something happens. Biological changes are mandatory to happen when you cross 30. I'm telling you.
And I think by that, the more number of years you live, the more experiences you have, the more learnings you gather. I think that's also something that's very,
partly correct. Partly correct once again, because I always give this example of Raj, who is a dear kind of brother from another mother, kind of younger brother, I would say. He's just 25. And look at his success. once again, people cannot compare this,
Yeah.
this thing which we have from our elders from ages, that as you grow older, you get more experience. I don't completely fully believe on that.
Yeah.
That is correct, but partly correct. It is not necessary. Why? Because we humans are different in different scenarios. राज के डैड का बिजनेस था, मेरे डैड का ऐसा बिजनेस नहीं था. राज को 17 साल की उम्र में अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली, मेरे को नहीं मिली थी. Does that mean we should compare our lives? No. I'm happy at 32 and a half. He's happy at 25.
Yeah.
That's the point which people forget.
Yeah. And I think when you were mentioning about, 5 years difference in the digital space is more like 10 years, right? I wanted to know from you, how was it in 2014, when you were 2014, 15, around that period, when you started working in the digital marketing space? How you were referring about, social bookmarking was something back then, but now people don't really, do that. What are some changes that you have seen in the whole content ecosystem? I know we have moved a little bit towards video only, and short form of content and all of those sort of things. But I want to know from you, what are some major trends and changes that you have seen in the past 6-7 years of your journey?
So in 2000, coming back to that question where you asked that maybe what did I do different, or how I was approaching, or how I was looking at the marketing things in 2014, when I still remember there was a company, Echo Innovate IT, and they were a mobile app development company. I don't know, still they might be, but at that point in time they were. And I got an interview opportunity over there. And what I showed in the interview was optimized price landing page straight away, built for them. I didn't have a resume to show them. What I showed was, hey, this can be your landing page. This is how you can collect leads, and that's how you can promote. And they were like, what the fuck? Banda hamare liye bana ke aa gaya, matlab. Instead of showing an A4 size paper and all the qualifications, he's showing the work.
Yeah.
So that's probably the difference which I have lived entirely. So now coming to the past 6-7 years of changes. At that point in time, it was all about landing pages, which was new, which people were not doing. People were just doing off-page SEO, and that as well, they were doing Quora only. Quora and Dick.com, all the Stumble Upon, Pinterest.
Yeah.
Those were the only websites for, off-page SEO, social bookmarking at that point in time for people. There were 200, 300 bookmarking websites, but people were using only 4 or 10, maybe max to max. Only Neil Patel kind of category were using 2000 maybe. So that was the trend. Then eventually moving to 2016-17, what I realized was Instagram. I have been an Instagram user since 2000, I guess 14. I have multiple accounts. This is not the only account which I have. So 2014 se main use kiya, and I have realized that in 2016 or 17, I started approaching in DMs to people in such a way that, hey, I have this YouTube channel. Will you be a guest? Then 2017, when I started podcasting, which was very early, in 2017, I started approaching for DigiPerform, because at that point in time, I was the product manager. For DigiPerform, I started approaching for podcasting as well, my own podcast as well. And there was this DigiPerform by DigiTalks by DigiPerform show, which we had launched for DigiPerform. I don't know if they have continued or not, but I used to go to places of affiliate marketers and all. We used to record. I used to record on my phone, and that used to be episode. So that was the trend, which probably very, very early I used to adapt in marketing strategies. And then when it comes to client pitching, I once again started using DMs. Like Facebook Messenger chatbots were very new in 2018. And I'll show you one classic example. Probably I might not have that. So I used to have these kind of cards. I don't have that right now with me, but I used to have these kind of cards. Okay. And instead of this name, I had that scan code. If you remember, there used to be scan codes of Facebook Messenger chatbot, which when scanned Messenger inbox camera, it used to open up a chatbot. So what I started doing was I started creating those kind of chatbots on my dummy page in 2018, 19. And I used to deliver that straight away to all the prospects which I wanted on the DM. And they were like blown away. What is this? If that can happen on a dummy page, let's build this up for our page. So the pattern which I'm trying to give to people is, no matter whether it was 6 years, 7 years ago, or now, try to deliver the work.
Yeah.
Don't say that I can do this for you. Hey, I've done this for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think again it's sort of I'm also contemplating now on that philosophical question of how change and how you have been doing so many new things. And even now you're doing something in the NFT market. And I also want to know what is Zor Parivar, if I'm pronouncing it right. So tell us about what it is exactly and what you're doing over there.
Yeah. So it is not Z, it's Jor Parivar. So obviously Parivar is a word which every Indian might be knowing. Like Parivar is like family. It's an Hindi word. And Jor it's actually not a word. Jor is just a kind of a very nice slang, I would say, which is used in the form of, let's say, wow, zabardast, awesome. So it's like that. It's an emotion. Wow, Jor food. So one of my friends, Aditi Rawal, she uses this hashtag. She is the creator of that hashtag, Jor food. So if there is a term known as yum in English, yummy, yummy food. So in Gujarati, if you want to say Jor food, so something like that around those lines. So it is like an awesome community to say, which I wanted to build around this NFT space. And that is why the name is Jor Parivar. And obviously we started researching for the trademark and legalities and everything. And we do have those things. And then obviously, because I was highly motivated with VeeFriends, which is already mentioned on our website as well, jorparivar.in, I started reverse engineering my own life, which is probably what is being probably seen in the last 20 minutes or so. When you are asking me questions, all my answers are revolving around my life. I'm not, मैं वो खाली पुलाव नहीं पका रहा हूँ यहाँ पर, all I'm saying is my practical experiences. So I have lived a life which is 100% practical and result oriented. And based upon that, I have some 22 ethics, one of which I showed this, I've lived this life. So now these kind of drawings are something hand drawn by me. Like this is, I'm a hardcore practitioner. Okay. I'm not an expert. I'm a practitioner. So that's where it is hardcore, abs and all those things. So I just got creative with those creations, and that's how I draw 22 unique characters for my ethics, principles, the way I have lived my life. And those are now going to be IPs. We have licensed that, copyrighted them, and they are individual IPs. So assume that if Spider-Man is introduced today, is drawn today, nobody's going to give a crap about Spider-Man. It's all about how the company built Spider-Man as an IP. So now for me, this project is not like an art or collectible of an artist. It is purely based on how I'll build this brand, which is Jor Parivar, over these years. So it can be an asset investment. It can be the access which I'm giving. It is divided into 3 different segments: gold, silver, bronze. So all these details are already on jorparivar.in. If people are interested, they can just go ahead and watch that. There are 1,254 tokens minted, and they are forever only that much. No one less, no one more.
We'll also mention the link to the website in the description of this episode so that people can just go ahead and check that out. Moving on from this, and I want to now ask you a question more focused for our freelance audience that we have, people who are aspiring freelancers or existing freelancers. What are some personal branding tips that you would share with freelancers specifically? Because today I think freelancers are also equivalent to entrepreneurs, right? They have to do their sales, branding, pitching, client servicing, and at the same time also creating whatever writing, designing work that they're doing. So what are some, let's say, few important points that you would want to share with aspiring freelancers or freelancers to build their personal brand?
The reason why I went there and put that over here, obviously it won't be seen, but this is the first thing which I'll do as a freelancer. I'll have a picture like that, which would say, I'm a freelancer. I'm not an expert, I'm a practitioner. It would be there forever on my Zoom call, in all the videos which I'll do, in all the t-shirts which I'll wear around me, everywhere, here and there. That's the number one thing which people need to do. Okay.
Yeah.
As a freelancer as well, you are a human being behind that brand, right?
Yeah.
And somebody you are talking to is a human being behind some other brand.
Correct.
So why not first connect emotionally? This is like, see, I always give this example of the offline world. What happens when we go to a networking event or a digital marketing event? We go, we listen to some speakers, but the other 90% of the crowd, which we'll be interacting and exchanging our visiting cards with, we won't be straight away jumping onto a conversation and shaking hands and saying, hey, I have a website development agency. Do you want a website? Do you do that?
Yeah.
You shake hands, you say, hey, my name is this. What do you do? Hey, I'm staying in this, blah, blah, blah. It's an icebreaker session. So in that icebreaking session, what do you always remember? Or what do you make sure about? You make sure that people should remember you in that. अगर आप ये digital marketing का करते हो, कोई भी advertisement content, if you're trying to do advertisement content, what do? Pattern interrupt. The first initial 3 or 5 seconds, attention span is low. So when you think like this, reverse engineering, we as humans, you'll come up that you don't have to think of yourself as a freelancer who is trying to build a personal brand. You just have to think of you as a human who is trying to connect another human. Work, service, product comes later.
Yeah, I think that's why it's also said as personal brand, right? You have to build that connection first and then start pitching or promoting or salesy kind of stuff. But yeah,
every brand is a human first. Every brand is a human first, and if it is a brand which is a machine, then that machine is built by humans.
Yeah, very true. I'm going to come to my second last question here now, which is about, so you have been putting so much content, right? There is podcasts, blogs, Instagram, YouTube. There are multiple other pages and accounts as well. Tell us some tips, which now this could be specific to brand managers, social media managers, as to how can, apart from those usual, like, okay, schedule your content, plan your content well in advance and all of those things. What are some things, or let's say tricks or tips, that you would want to share with people as to how they can effectively manage these content uploads or the content planning work that social media managers or brand managers might be interested to listen about?
If I want to follow, I'll tell you as a perspective of a customer or a viewer now, as an audience, so that it will hit the social media managers or brand managers more. So if I want to follow a brand manager, I would really want to know what are the experiences and struggle which he or she has faced. I don't want to know how much social media he or she knows. That can be easily figured out on Google and YouTube.
Correct.
So if I'm able to listen to a life-changing story or a life lesson or some struggle or some reality or some practicality around some work culture which they are into on LinkedIn post every single day, I would be a fan of that brand manager or social media manager, irrespective of whether that manager might be my competitor's brand manager. I'll tell you one recent example. Ashok Ramachandran, the CEO president of Schindler. You know, he's a good friend of mine now. The way we connected was through content. We have still not met one-on-one. We are social friends, but we are so close now that we follow each other's principles, ethics, even though he's the CEO president of Schindler. He has almost like a decade more of experience than me. Still, a couple of things which he follows on me is making sense, and I follow him on LinkedIn and Twitter and here and there because of the experience which he has over me. I'm not following him because he's CEO president of Schindler. He's not following me because I'm a content creator, consulting agency guy, NFT project creator. No. Storytelling. People forget that element, storytelling. So I have been recently sharing this. Storytelling is an art. So try to become the greatest artist of your own brand. And you don't have to be good at communication, good at English, good at writing and all those things. Figure out what you're good at. If you're good at, if you're good at your own language and video, keep on doing video without worrying about how many people are viewing that. Because people like me are busy. We won't tap on the like or share or something like that. But people like me would be sharing Ashok Ramchandran, Raj Shamani, and all these people on these kind of calls, which would now amplify their brand indirectly.
Yeah.
People forget these elements.
Hmm.
So it's all about building a real connections versus just social media metric connections.
Yeah. Got it. And coming to my last question, and this is little, let's say, a light hearted question. Who are some of the internet folks that you really enjoy consuming their content? It could be a podcast or a YouTube channel or a blog or a newsletter, whatever it is, or an Instagram person also. So who are some creators or, let's say, brands or pages that you really enjoy consuming their content?
Uh, People who know me might be already knowing the answer. On the top list, it would be Gary Vee for sure. Since 2016, I would say. So Gary Vee on the top for sure, everywhere, be it any platform, because he's the most volume guy on the planet Earth when it comes to content. Number two, I would say number 2, 3, 4, number 500 will keep on varying. You know why? Because honestly, I don't consume that much content of people. What I'm rather doing is I intentionally go to a couple of accounts when I'm free. Those accounts are divided into plenty of things. Maybe if I have to do something creative, I'll go to accounts like Fevicol. Oh, and I'm so sorry. Somebody's ringing the bell. Nobody's at house. Just give me a second. Yeah, Owen, I'm so sorry.
No worries. You were saying that the second and the rest of the you will visit Fevicol
yes.
when you have time.
So it then gets divided into so many things. That if I have to be creative, let's suppose for Johar Parivar account, then I'll go into the mode of creative content and out of the box content. So I might just go to YouTube and search for minimalist video ads or storytelling video ads. I might just watch kids cartoons, you know. So at that point in time, it doesn't have to be necessarily specific accounts. Specific accounts might be Fevicol in my mind. In fact, Durex as well. Trust me.
You
know, they are so creative with that marketing campaigns. So there are very less accounts which I have been like remembering, because I don't intentionally go to the accounts or I follow. I just search for a few things. And if I have to say like personal brandings out of the blue, like friends ke accounts mein jata hu main, you know, I might just pop in into a few reels of Raj. I might just look what Vaibhav is doing on LinkedIn and things like that, you know. So I might just jump into, at times, I might just get curious that what Pepper Type is doing right now or Pepper Content is doing right now. So it's my intentional effort at times when I want to consume other people's content other than Gary Vee. So I'm very transparent. People who I'm following, I have muted them. Most of them are muted, so I don't see them on the feed, because I see I'm so busy creating content and I'm myself posting. Even though I have a team of 11-12 members now, I am the one who is posting all my content. I am the one who is replying to all the comments, DMs. I still want to do that. It's my choice. While it's a waste of time for so many, it's an ORM for me, online reputation management. When I'm hearing about my brand, I know it very well. I don't have to hear it from somebody else.
You know, small sub question. I also mute a lot of my friends, and especially I mute people who share news content or, you know, very sometimes offensive. So, you know, what's happening out there in the world or politics and things like that. It's not that I'm not interested or I don't want to be aware about it. I read like 2 newspapers every day in the morning to be aware with the world, but social media or Instagram specifically is not the space where, you know, I want to consume that kind of content. What's the reason for you that you mute some of your friends or other accounts?
As I said, like I don't want to see anybody on the feed except Gary Vee or similar kind of accounts. That's the whole agenda. If I'm scrolling, I need that after two scroll. Let's do it in real time. Hold on. If I'm going into this Instagram right now, and I'll show it to you. So let's suppose on my feed, who is there? On the first, it is Gary Vee. Okay. Now when I'm scrolling, okay,
you are all caught up.
Exactly. Can you imagine? So I literally, and how many people I'm following right now? I'm following 93 people. This white color will never go on a Zoom call.
No, but we got it, 93 people.
Yeah. So I'm following 93 people, and just imagine on my feed, I was caught up with just one post.
Nice.
So that's how
I
it
think
is.
I think all our audience is going to learn a lot from this entire conversation and will start muting their friends also and probably go and start creating content rather than
But Pawan, I'll tell you, this has to be on a serious note. This has to be an over communication with your friends too. This doesn't mean that I disrespect my friends. Like I'm
Yeah.
so close to my friends.
Yeah.
कल रात को ही मैंने एक जन के साथ 2 घंटे 2.5 घंटे बात की थी. He's kind of a younger brother to me, and I was giving him advices because he was into some problems and all, and we have never met. He's a social friend of mine. Okay? I'm not even following him on Instagram, but he has my WhatsApp number. I called him for 2.5 hours in the night, and I was advising him till 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, does that matter, or me consuming his content on Instagram matters?
Yeah.
That's the thing which people need to understand. Again, it's about real connections versus social media connections.
Yeah. No, I think this whole conversation has been very thought-provoking for me as well, right from when we started knowing about your journey, and now my faith in muting my friends has been restored. So I'm gonna. I first used to feel guilty sometimes about it. Yeah, I'm not able to check out on my friends' updates, but no, now I feel satisfied about it.
सरकार मूवी का एक डायलॉग हमेशा याद रखना, दूर के फायदे के लिए नजदीकी नुकसान सही है.
Wow, I think that's a great way to sum up the conversation. But thank you so much, Pratik, for doing this with us. I think everyone is going to find this very insightful. All the tips that you have shared with us, and yes, I think we'll catch up with you again, maybe over an IG live or something of that sort. And we'll just mention the details of that in the description of this episode.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for bearing with me, and hope you found it 1% valuable as compared to what you might have thought. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Pepper Spotlight releases a new episode on every Wednesday. If you have any suggestions for us as to whom we should invite on the show or what kind of conversations that we should do, please feel free to just put down a comment on the YouTube channel, or you could just reach out to us on Instagram, Twitter, anywhere across. We are at @pepper_content, and we'll make sure that we take all of your suggestions and recommendations. But till that time, stay safe, take care, and stay indoors.